Welcome to the track guide for week 2 in the Cadillac, coming to you from beautiful mid-Ohio. So we come down to turn 1. What I'm looking for is trying to get past the 200, maybe 170, 150, somewhere like that. It's just past the 200. You can probably go a bit later. So I'm changing down to third. This sort of edge of the grass is roughly a turn-in point. Half brake, quickly into a trail to just keep the car pointing in. So very, very light amount of brake. And once you get to the curb, you don't want to hit the curb because this is a bouncy one, so it will throw you up. Trying to hold just close to the curb as much as you can, then playing with the throttle in terms of possibly could have put it on a gradient like that to instead of going to full throttle and then off and back on. Not ideal. You want to be able to push out wide to that curb and then get onto it down to turn 2. As you come down here, maybe in a race somewhere around the 300 is a good point to brake, but this is hot lap hero moment, so I'm pushing it a bit further. I'm trying to eye up around the 250-ish mark. Quite heavy braking, but you are going up a hill here, which does help. We're down to second and see this different bit of seal here that is quite important for this corner. Heavy brake, trailing down into it and then holding that small trail around. What you're wanting to do is to try and get your car onto this bit of seal here. If you follow even this wider line, that is also fine. As long as you can stay on that, and then that will point you right here to the point where you can get maximum drive off. I'm starting to get into the throttle here because I'm on the seal. I'm going to hit that line, and it's a case of steadily increasing. Then around or just past the end of this, whack to full throttle. Just like that. Running out wide onto that curb. Long straight here. Does have a slight kink in it, so don't waste any distance. Get in nice and close there. Coming up here, particularly if you've got a good run off turn 2, the 400 or just before should be your marker. If you came out of there terrible, you can probably brake a little later. So in the car, that feels like I'm braking at 400, but I'm, 420 or something like that. So in a straight line, braking quite heavy. Then just as I'm starting to ease off the brake and starting to get towards the trail is when I introduce second. Again, a nice helpful strip here to line up your line. You don't want to hit that curb, but you want to be close to it. And you also don't want to wash out too wide here because we have a very tight off-camber left coming up straight away. So steady throttle application because we don't go too far out here. Want to be opening up the next turn as much as possible. Full throttle and then some brake. I'm wanting my right side tyres to be on the edge of that, about there, just as I'm getting into it, into that seal. Trailing all the way around here. This bit here is horrible. It feels all off camber. You can't see where you're going. You just have to trust and introduce throttle very gingerly. Once you're straight and over the rise, then you can accelerate up to 100%. aiming to come out here, and roughly this point here is where I'm trying to get the car to, so I can then brake and get onto this bit of seal. There it is, brake onto this seal, trail around the corner, get to the apex, introduce the throttle, bring it up in that same sort of trajectory till you are straight, and then it's 100%. You can cut this curb, but if you hit this grass here, that is a 1x, so cut there, that's fine. You want to stay left coming up over this rise, and you can't see anything. See, because you're going up the rise, I'm just not going full throttle all the time, as it can get a bit light up there. And see, because you stayed hard left, you're actually then aligned for this corner. This isn't really a corner, but you are wanting to be close here, not quite on the curb. Because from about here on, your focus is actually this corner up here. You're just trying to get yourself positioned where you can start slowing down, trying to get out towards this curb. Braking, but quite light, because the car's very, very off balance through this whole section. Then you're just trailing a very small amount for a very long time through this section. And I leave it in third for this corner. It may feel like second is right, but again, I'm using less RPM because the car's very, very off balance through this whole sequence. I'm trying to keep the car as happy as possible. And this rise is also terrible. You will be fighting. You've got a bit of oversteer on there. Then the car's finally straight, and I can then get to full throttle. Up to fourth. And I'm coming around here, I'm trying to hold tight to the right. And then, yeah, as soon as I'm straight around this corner, I'm down to third, which feels a little early, but if you leave it much later, what happens is the car pushes a bit in the mid corner here, and you don't get anywhere close to this curb. You don't want to go on the curb, but you want to be just in there. Because what that allows is you to bring in the throttle for this little bit here. It's always about trading off the optimal for this one piece for the totality of where you started braking to where you need to start braking for the next corner. There we go, a quick squirt at full throttle. And I found it is best to try and stay closer here in this part, and then start braking, but brake in a straight line. So even though this is basically a 180-degree sweeping corner, I am going as straight as I can, because there is a rise here which really upsets the car. So you do need to be very careful. So you can see I was making almost no effort to turn. I was going away from the white line quite a lot. And I'm just trailing, waiting a long time before looking to bring in the throttle, and even then bringing it in gradually until I'm exited that part of the corner, and then you can go aggressive. You can take a bit of that curb out to this curb, very, very slight lift, but you don't have to, onto that curb, down to the line, for a 22.912. We will watch that in full speed from the cockpit. And now full speed from chase. Hopefully that was of assistance to some of you. Good luck out on track, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.